Ta-da-da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And in all honesty, I have to say, I'm pretty much done with exploring the inside today. Maybe not. But I am full with figuring things out, full of giving myself pep talks, full of the questions that I ask myself, right? And full of little prayers that everything's going to work out okay, right? And I've done the best that I can. And at that point, right, anything else is just kind of spilt milk, right? You can only control what you can control. And I have to let it go. I really do. And I've been doing that all day today, getting all kinds of things done. I'm having problems with my laptop still. Oh, I think I've corrupted my editing program because, well, I guess one of my clouds claimed it and won't share it. Won't share it. And I find it to be extremely frustrating. But in that frustrating, I had to go make myself a cup of coffee, right? I'm using my Be Kind cup. I had to get other things done today because there's nothing worse for me than to have a whole day move forward and not actually move forward. And, in that little bit of frustration, I have to take myself into consideration and give myself, and the topic this week is compassion, have that compassion for myself in those limitations of mine, right? I am not technically inclined. But the way that I'm talking to myself, right? It's like I don't recognize that I'm technically not inclined because, right, I'm dictating to myself, right? And it's not in a cheerleading kind of way. It's kind of, you got to figure this out, push this button, try this out. Maybe we'll, right? And this is what I've been doing all day. But it builds up, doesn't it? When you don't see, okay, it's going to work this time. Oh, maybe this will work. And every time you try is that, that little bit of disappointment and that little bit of, what is it? Right? What is it? And what is it? And taking those breaks because, again, I have to see some. Let me have a sip. Good coffee. I have to see that movement in my day. It's just the way that I have been programmed, and I'm disappointed. And in the lessons, right, I know I'm not supposed to be disappointed in myself, right? I know that, but it doesn't stop me from going, right? Why can't I get this? Well, you can't get it because, right, you're just not technically inclined, Cindy, right? And you're taking the lessons, you're doing the Googling, you're doing the experimenting, you're doing the failing, and you're not moving forward in this aspect of your story in any way, right? In any way. And so I have to ask questions in that, right? Because I so want to bring my adventures, my vacation. I just got back from my yearly trip and I have so much video that I want to, right, create, explores for my audience, right? That audience who has listened to me all year long, right? Who has been with me that entire way as I'm reverse engineering all the things that I need to accomplish in order to make it happen, right? And for lots of people, that might have been a little thing. But for some people, these are dreams. For some people, these are big goals, big ambitions. These are things that they never thought possible, never had any clue how they were going to make it happen, but believing, right, that it was going to happen and then have it manifest, right, the way you want it to, but then not be able to share it the way you want to. And so again, it makes me question, like, am I not meant to share my outdoor adventures and some of those other passions of mine? I've been taught to amalgamate and assimilate all my loves, all my passions, all my content, all my ideas, like amalgamate it and share it, that it doesn't have to be separated and it doesn't have to be tossed to the side as insignificant. It can be included. And I believe that because I've seen the evidence of that positive movement when I include myself in the equation. Maybe it's a test. This is what I'm saying to myself all day, right? Maybe it's a test. Keep that positive attitude. You need to take a little break, take a little bit of break, take in a couple of lessons, take in something that's a little bit entertaining. You're worried about wasting your days off in struggling and getting something that might not possibly work to work, and then you're going to go back to work in that job that actually puts the roof over your head in the moment. And how are you going to feel? And this is how I talk to myself. How are you going to feel, right? That you're going back to work after 3 days and you didn't get anything accomplished. So I've been taking these breaks during the course of the day as I'm being disappointed in my accomplishments, in my expectation that I was going to have this all taken care of today, right? I am optimistic. I'm going to get it. I'm not done. I'm taking a break, right? I've pulled myself away for about the sixth or seventh time from what I've been doing today, but I've been doing this since 7 o'clock this morning. This has been my priority since 7 o'clock this morning. But in order to still be at it, because it only takes that one, right? You hit that one button, maybe everything opens up and corrects itself, or maybe you hit that one permission, or that one idea comes to you. But if you're not on it, how is it going to come to you? And I'm asking myself all these kind of questions as I'm trying to figure out the solutions, because I know my attitude is everything. I feel pretty good about what I accomplished, right? Today I have one more day off. Everything that I need to get done, it is pretty much done, right? I said I was going to do a little bit of work in the kitchen. I have that, right? I'm carrying on with this. I got tomorrow. I'm going to carry on with what I'm doing, but I've got to make sure that I feel good when I go back to work. And that feel good feeling is to feel like I got things accomplished. And even though I might not have things accomplished in the editing program and getting those videos out, I have movement in other aspects, right? I've got the laundry in the dryer right now. All my laundry is going to be done for the week. Fantastic, right? All the dishes are done. The bathroom is done. I've been working on this all day. I had a shower, got dressed. I did my bangs for next week. All these little things that you can do to prepare for a week and feel right. I'm going to feel good that my bangs are pink again instead of all faded out. I'm going to feel good that the laundry at least got done and the floors got swept and washed and the cat was taken care of, right? So in that word that we have this week, and for those of you who are just popping in for the first time this week, we picked the word compassion for the week, and that's what we're going to be talking about this week. Thank you, Melvin, for popping in. I'm still working at getting those videos. I got my laptop back, but I pretty much got it back in the exact same state that I passed it off in. So maybe I wasn't so technically inclined as I thought because, somebody who was very, very, very good with computers didn't quite figure it out either. Very kind of my friend Miles to give me a hand with that, right? But we're still working at it, and I'm still optimistic that we're going to get it. And in that process, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm not technically inclined, right? I'm not technically inclined that way. But the more I keep saying I'm not technically inclined, I think the more compounded that not being inclined is going to be. So I have to make that movement anyway, because that attitude of not being technically inclined could change in an instant if I could figure out my editor, if I could figure out those permissions, if I could figure out what I'm doing wrong. I'm sure it's just some silly thing, right? It can't just be battle of the clouds. It just can't be that, right? Otherwise, everybody would be having these problems that I'm having, right? So I'm just going to carry on, right? Hacking away at this, showing up here as part of those moments when I say, okay, Cindy, walk away from this for an hour, right? We're going to go do our live now. Okay, Cindy, walk away from this for an hour, right? We're going to do our floors and we're going to wash the dishes. Okay, Cindy, walk away from this. Time for the laundry, right? So it will serve me in the end because at the very least, I won't feel like my days off were wasted because I did fill it up with things that did need to get done, but at the same time, I did fill my days off with movement. I made a really great connection in that relationship that's in need of some little bit of healing work. And I was able to do that on my days off. I was able to visit my sisters. I was able to get a little bit of grocery shopping done. I was able to go in and get my eye exam and pay that. And I was able to check in to see how much it was going to cost me for my new pair. If you can't tell, I need a new pair of glasses, right? I I got thrown from my bus seat, believe it or not, and I ended up face down on the floor of a bus, and it broke my glasses. So we have to get those fixed, especially I'm in social media, right? And you can say, well, don't care what people think, and I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it was a really big problem for me. But I have to take care of myself. I have to have that compassion for myself. For I have to have that compassion for those things that I don't have, compassion for those things that I'm striving for, a little bit of compassion for those hiccups and those little bit of failures along the way, a little bit of compassion for that understanding that I don't have the answer, right? I had probably have very few answers. All I have is that gumption not to give up, to adapt and conquer, to find another way. But I, at the same time, right, I have to ask myself those questions, right? There's a reason. What's the lesson? Because it's obviously a lesson for me. Why can't I get this? Right? And I really do believe that I will get this, even if I have to, right, purchase another editing program, right? But when I do that, it will have to be like a total lockdown of my accounts, right? Just to make sure that I don't have these kind of hiccups again. And I hate being locked down that way. Um, I think it's in that discovery and that curiosity and that um what is it? That permission to make mistakes, to fall flat on my face, even in trying to figure out how to get my editor back up and running. But sometimes it's like beating a dead horse, right? And you can beat it, but it ain't going to be coming back. And sometimes you just have to take that saddlebag off the horse and strap it around your own neck and, right, send a little prayer, send it off, and off you go. Walk that trail, right? You never know. Something might come across your path, right? That you might be able to, I don't know, alleviate a difficult situation. You never you never know. It's just, but you never know, right? If you give up, right? If you give up, you never learn anything. If you quit too soon, you could be this close to achieving it. You could be one button away, one realization away. And here I am going, oh, Cindy, you're not technically inclined, right? Oh, give up, right? All that money you spent on an editing program, and then the guilt and the shame because I so want to bring those adventures to my YouTube channel and I don't know how to do it, right? I can adapt, I can conquer in a way that I can get something up, but it's not going to be enjoyable. And my videos, right? They deserve that attention. They deserve to be presented the way I would like to be presented. And we can call that pride, right? You could say, oh, Cindy, you're just being full of pride. Well, I only take this vacation once a year. And like I said, right, my followers have been following along as I'm making plans, as I'm getting excited. And they were excited too to be a part of my adventures, right? So there's a little bit of guilt and shame that I can't make it work. I can't make it happen. But all I can do is practice those tips, right? Those lessons that I've gotten along the way, right? To trust the process, right? Don't cry over spilt milk. If I can't do anything about it, I've got to just let it go and trust there's a reason for it. But as long as there is a button or a file or something that I can do, I'm not somebody who's going to allow that piece of meat to be taken from my teeth, right? I'll stick with it, and I will stick up with it, and I will figure something out, and it's probably not going to look anything that I was optimistic that it was going to look like, but I am optimistic, and I do believe, right, that if I just use those lessons that, I talk about it all. I talk about the lessons all the time. I have to be that example, right? And lots of people have a lot worse go on in their life than the little detail that I'm having. But to each of us, those small details could be big deal details. You know what I mean? They could be part of our souls. They could be part of our lives. They could be important tools in our movement forward. And who am I to brush it off as insignificant, right? So I got to do my very best at it, especially in that idea that I never give up. I never give up. But in that process and in that bit of frazzle, in the process, in the failing and in the figuring out, and also in this process, I was thinking, because I am in social media, it's not enough just to be able to come in and spew my thing, right? That I have to protect my data. I have to I have to be able to understand my settings. I have to be able to understand the interconnections between the links. I have to be able to understand the cloud a little bit. These are things I need to learn, right? And in those baby steps I take, why am I not including those aspects, right? I really haven't been. I've just been trusting that Google was going to lead me along the way, that my programs were going to have the answers for me, right? And I was just going to come and spew my thing, and then everything was going to work out for me, right? I have to be my own hero in this, but part of being my own hero is having that compassion for myself, understanding I don't have all the answers, right? Right? And if you really think about it, and in the small little corner of the world that I have, how minuscule it actually is. So I'm going to have to give myself that compassion. And there's lots of little things, right, that I can do. A couple of hours working on it. I feel those emotions building up a little bit, right? And say, okay, Cindy, it's time for a walk, right? Go get a cup of coffee. Go for a walk. Grab yourself a cup. Oh, let's have a sip of your coffee. Go grab yourself a cup of coffee, right? Right? Go do something that's going to make you feel good when you go back to work, knowing that your weekend was productive. It wasn't a waste, and really nothing of this is a waste, right? A learning process is still a learning process, even if you don't reach that um what, epitome, is that the word, the very top, right? What you were reaching for, right? You didn't hit that goal. There were still things along that way that I did learn, right? That I didn't know an hour ago, right? A day ago, a week ago, but I know now, right? That I can have a little bit of more confidence in what I'm doing, because it seems that I was doing just as well trying to figure it out as anybody else was, right? So I'm just going to, well, enjoy my evening, right? I'm going to take in some lessons, I'm going to go for a walk, come back in, work on this a little bit more. All those things that I was worried about not having those feelings of I wasted my days off. I don't have those feelings. I can't have those feelings now because I got some things done on my days off. And on top of that, right, I'm relaxed. I'm in my home, right? I'm doing what I love, right? Even though in the moment it's frustrating, right? Because this is part of my brand and nobody's going to do this for me. I have to figure I have to figure this out. But I can do it in a way that I'm not beating myself up over it, right? That I can, well, I can trust myself maybe for this week, right? Instead of passing it on to somebody else, like I did last week to see if somebody else could work on it for me. Maybe that lesson was that I was supposed to do it, right? I was to take note of all those settings and all those permissions and all those linkages, right? That I'm supposed to pay attention a little bit, so that if something does happen, that I don't panic and hit that red button, because Cindy always likes the red button. Hit that red button, then everything's gone, right? But then I would show up just like my friend Nancy, like a jack in a box. I have no idea how, right? But I'll show up, right? And they'll be better than I was before because of all those lessons that I've gotten beforehand, right? I got stumped here, right? But there's no reason. Oh, here's a good one for you. I was talking to my sister yesterday, and this is absolutely amazing because I always talk about the 360, right? When we're going down the wrong path, and little serendipities and little clues and little breadcrumbs come across our paths, and we either pay attention to them or we don't pay attention to them. And when we don't pay attention to them, um, we're not making the proper movement. But if it has to be done, right? Or if we get too far down the side roads, or some of those things that we're doing are going way, way so far away from the plan, right? Sometimes we just keep going because we've gone so far, right? We've gone so far. So we don't want to stop. We don't want to go backwards. So we just carry on and we just keep going further and further and further away just out of stubbornness, right? And it could be in any aspect of our lives or in any aspect of what's going on in our lives or in our surroundings, right? And what was I going to say about that? Because I was just about to trail off somewheres else, right? I was just about to trail off somewheres else, but we could um, let that one go. I think we could let that one go because it would pop right back into my head. Otherwise, we'll take a cup of coffee. We're going to carry on. Give myself a little bit of compassion for losing that train of thought because I thought it was a good train of thought. I thought it was going to go somewheres, and if you want to give it back to me, we'll just carry on with that. But if not, right, I'm going to take a walk down to the laundry room first and get my laundry. Otherwise, it's going to get stolen. So we'll bring it up, fold it, put it away. Then I'm just going to put my boots and my coat on, and I'm going to go for a little walk. And in my head, I'm just going to kind of take a look at the paths of what I'm doing and see if there is something that will come to me that will kind of, right, click a little bit. And that when I come home, I can try something new. Melvin, thank you so much for popping into my lives today. We're talking about compassion this week, but it's really funny because in the past, I would have to say week or two, having that compassion for yourself, right, has been a big theme in the things that have been coming across my path, right? The way we talk to ourselves, the way we load things up on ourselves, the way we feel guilt and shame, the way we feel when it comes to being responsible and accountable for situations that, right, we take on as our responsibility just to have something to do sometimes, right? Because we always, right, you want to keep yourself busy, right? Because if you're not busy with the couch and the remote control, and where's the movement in that, right? But we still have to have that compassion for ourselves because every once in a while we need that couch and the remote control. And that couch and remote control could be anything, right? For me, it's an evening walk, right? It's a bath. It's a walk to get a cup of coffee. It's taking in some lessons. It's watching my metal detecting videos, right? Making myself comfortable when I've taken on a lot, right? Where I've kind of overextended myself without much progress. And when I start talking to myself because of the lack of progress, I know it's time to stop, right? And it's time for me to do not necessarily something I love, not necessarily the couch and the remote control. And for me, that's very rare, but I'm just as much of a YouTube junkie as I was a television junkie, right? But the content's a little bit, well, it's not necessarily even shorter because some of the videos that I watch are well over an hour or two for sure. It's early in the week and it's in the evening too. We have to think that it's 10:30, 11:30 at night in some parts of this continent too, right? So lots of people are in bed. And I was going to come in this afternoon, but I put that energy into working on that editor. I'm not crying over spilt milk. I'm grateful that I'm not being shown in 340 in a right that we're able to show up live and have a decent live show. I'm grateful for that because it was challenging last week, right? And I wasn't pleased with how my live show went last week, especially with the topic, right? The word we had last week, which was believe. And I said that we were going to tie it in to this week too. And that idea is that, I really do believe in myself. But like I said, I don't have all the answers, right? But at the same time, I can't be munching on something that isn't going to work, no matter how much energy, right? How much thought or how much effort that I can put it into it. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work, and I just have to accept that, right? And carry on, or adapt and conquer, find another way, which is a major move of mine, right? Because I'm not one for giving up. But if I can see that something's not going to work, right? No chance that it's going to work, I have no qualms in pivoting. And I've pivoted so many times in my life, like from the very very youngest of ages, and it's nothing new to me, and I will continue to pivot, right? My entire life if I have to. Maybe it's just that stubbornness. Maybe it's just that stubbornness in me. But I think maybe even possibly, well, I don't think I'm done tonight. It's still fairly early. I've still got a few hours. I'm only going to be out for about an hour. Then I'll come home and I'll give it another shot. But the moment I got it up and running, I tell you, I'm going to be an editing monster, right? And maybe that's part of the lesson too, right? Because I could have taken the opportunity when my editor was working good just to carry on and just pop those adventures out. But no, right? Cindy has to explore. Her curiosity gets the best of her sometimes, right? But it's good that I can smile. And right, we're here right now. I got my laptop, right? We'll just find another way if we have to. And I'm going to be kind to myself, right? A little bit of compassion for myself. Tomorrow we're going to go into compassion, right? For others. We'll take a look at that topic, but it is in my movement. It is in the story that I'm experiencing in the moment that today's lesson is popping in, but it has been popping in for the past week or two. This idea that I have to treat myself like I matter, right? It doesn't mean stop, right? It doesn't mean, oh my goodness, pink ice donuts and sprinkles, couch and the remote control, right? Big bowl of popcorn and lay on the couch all day. We still get things done, but we just switch it up. We just switch it up because we do have to feel good about us, right? Because guilt and shame is like our steering wheel. And in the lessons of holding ourselves accountable and being our own cheerleader, right? Our own parent in what we're doing. We have to trust in those lessons. Otherwise, why are we doing all of this, right? And you don't want to get to that frame of mind at all. I would much rather say, okay, time for a cup of coffee and a little evening walk, and then we'll get right back at it. Okay, you guys, I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow. Let's do an afternoon live tomorrow and see if we can drum up some of that crew that Melvin was talking about. And, just trust that things work out the way that they're supposed to work out. Thank you, everybody, for popping into my live today. And we'll see each other tomorrow. Wish me luck. Okay, here we go. Bye bye.